poetry, radio, verse. It's all about the D. Desire, discipline, dedication. I know what you were thinking, savages, but that ain't it. Let's go! I am James Hamilton, and this is Verse. Because you know what? Writer's right. Do whatever is authentic to who you are and what you're trying to portray. What's my favorite piece? I can say my next one. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am James Hamilton, and this is Versed. Today, you are going to get more of me. This is the second part of the show we started way back in the beginning of the season when we started all of this with episode 1. So we're going to pick up where we left off with me answering questions from fans, curated, and, well, you know what? We're just going to jump right into it. You'll pick up right where we left off.
All right. Do you ever get writer's block, and how do you reopen the creative energy flows? And does it make you mad?
Right.
Well, it does make me mad. Does it make you mad, Paul?
Makes me mad.
Definitely makes me mad. So, how do I reopen the creative energy flows? When it comes, I embrace it and I run with it. I will go frenetic. I will write until it stops. And then part of my process is being okay when it's not there. However, I mentor and I coach probably 24 poets, and they ask me that question. If they can't write, I said, your goal to write is 8 words a day. And most of them will come out of it. But the thing I say probably more than anything else is read. If you have writer's block, read.
And that goes back to your belief that you don't worry when you go through a dry spell. That's so hard.
Oh, I worry. You're right. It's hard. Cultivating that mindset to be okay in the downtimes. I think, honestly, some of that is just me learning how to live with ADHD. You know, we got the highs and lows. Plus, I'm a Pisces, so the fish are either swimming up or down. Yeah, there is no in between. It's one or the other. I still have doubts. Is my creativity dried up? But as far as writer's block goes, I don't really get it, and I don't try hard to reopen. I think part of the problem with writer's block for writers, and I'm speaking for people that I mentor, they do try too hard. Don't try to write a page a day. Don't try to write 1,000 words. Sit down and try to write 8 words. I don't care if it's your grocery list. If you can get 8 words down, you wrote. Because you know what? Writers write.
So I have to say, I've written some awful shit when I was forcing myself to write extensively. The very first time I mentioned to you writer's block, like I just was getting to know you, you asked, what are you reading? Because that's the point. You read to get out of it.
Window in the wall. Chipped lead, dry rot timber, top coat pane sealed away as if forbidden to speak. Memories see time, places, and objects hold meaning. PTSD feeling, nail hole dreaming horrors like stained gravel on the side of the road. 95 highway high in the dark, spacecraft cutting by. Silent and white, traffic needs to settle level, even in a wonder mind. And we drive. There are snakes on the road to East Moline. The shoulders are low on the road to East Moline. My knuckles turn white from holding the wheel on the road to East Moline. See, you see marshland, cattails, and beautiful country. I see stash spots, trash, and dugout hideaway knots tied in catastrophe cracked carnage, societal whack proximity to slack trauma overlay. Transparency covering what the night doesn't hide from the day. And we talk. Dry erase dictation, stimuli mixed in, calamity, insanity, superiority, complex inferiority, psychosis, obsessed, vexed, feeling dysmorphic but only once or twice a day when I can muster the courage to mirror gaze. Reflection is where my truth lies, laid dormant, lying to me. I want relief, or at least incidental interference. Locust buzz, riz fuzz, ring of smoke, paranoid peep through a slit in whatever is there and whatever is not. Looking for familiarity in the bushes, a face smiling back through the weeds, but there are only strangers entrusted to the care of stranger than me. And I'm supposed to share stories? Like Cafe Wired the other day, day trip, trippin', epic, quippin', press key, sergeant, officer, yes sir stories on refrain. Police rain, outreach, disdain, stop and frisk, talk, Bubba Mac, Hotep, Notep, dubstep, drum tech, 808 sounds round out the effect. Drowning personality defects in musical delight. Hiding morality, decay, theirs and mine. I wear noise-canceling headphones to help with clarity and tolerance. Conversation, rhythm, observation, rhyme, condemnation without investigation, like the window in the wall. Dusted away crimes, tarnished, no speak, buried for what it saw. Buried before you or me, buried before it all. And I wonder, what exactly would lead, wood, and glass believe if it could see what I see?
So I know you already touched on this a little bit, but maybe you can expand more. Is your writing spontaneous or more scheduled?
I don't schedule time to write. People that I mentor, I do tell to schedule time to write.
Right.
Part of that, again, is me learning how to live attention deficit. You know, when I feel it, I do it. And I've structured my life in a way that I'm able to do that. But I also understand that there's people out there that are working full-time jobs, raising kids,
Right.
and running households and things like that. So my recommendation to them is definitely schedule time if they can.
Right.
For me, it's about just kind of bopping through life. When the inspiration hits, I take it and I run with it. And for me, I guess, again, the best way to quantify it is to say I have learned how to use my ADHD limitation as a tool and almost flip it into a positive as far as my creative life goes. At least I feel that way.
And that's possible for you because you are a full-time poet and you have the time to do it. But yeah, so I had this specific conversation with Callie Hunter just a few days ago because Callie is who you just described. Full-time school psychologist, intense job, not really a scheduled job. I mean, you're thinking about it other times a day and working at it. Raising kids and organizing poetry events and literary events around Rockford.
On her show, when she was here, we talked about living that creative life. You're right. She is a great example of the modern supermom writer.
Which is a brutal situation and trope. I mean, not that Shane Train doesn't have the same thing. He's not a mom. But I see it with the mothers I know who are poets more often.
It is. And I'm upfront about that with people that I mentor and coach and say, you know, listen, I am the exception to the rule. I am able to do some of the things I can do because I've set up that life. That said, people will come and ask me and say, well, how do I do what you do? How can I do this full time? My answer is always the same to those people. And it is, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because that's what it's about. And some things are able to be sacrificed, comforts and things like that. But there are things, aspects of certain people's lives that, you're not going to sacrifice your kid to be a writer.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Let's hope not.
Or even a pet. I mean, right?
Right.
If
Animal sacrifice is frowned upon.
I adopt a ton of pets, that I go out and watch and stuff like that and spend time with. But if I had, let's say I had a full-time pet still, my little beagle Copper that I had for all of those years, my best friend, he went wherever I went. If I had Copper still today, he would be sitting right here, being a pain in my ass, but he'd be sitting right here next to this chair while we did this show.
And staying at the Blue Box.
Yeah, he went wherever I went. That's just how it was. Yeah.
All right.
What else we got?
How long does it take for you to commit a piece to memory for a slam?
I don't memorize anything. Here is my theory on that. And I'm going to channel my friend, Damian Rucci, who is the head of the New Jersey Poetry Society, who says, fucking old poets memorize poetry. I use technology. I started out reading from my books, and then I would print them on paper. I'm 54 years old now, so my eyesight is not great. As my poems got more pronounced, narrative, and longer, they didn't fit on paper, so I would shrink to print. I couldn't see anymore. I said there has to be a program out there that I can use on my laptop that's a teleprompter thing. So that's what I did. Found one for free. It's called Teleprompter Pad. I've told hundreds of poets about this.
Right.
Only 2 or 3 that I know of have actually tried to use it. And now I'm telling the world. And the thing that it helps me do, it allows me to perform because I don't have something in my hand that I have to read from or focus on.
Right.
But the other thing is, like if I run a circuit of open mics 30 days and then I go and I do the same ones, I don't do the same piece. I want it to be, in this day and age with fresh content being king, I want to read something new and engaging every time I see you. That's not to say that if you have a favorite piece of mine that you want me to read for you, I'll pull it out. I have my entire catalog available to me at every performance.
Wow.
No doubt. And it's searchable. So if you even say to me, I want, except for love, because James does not do love poems. This we know. So let me say this. As long as what you're reading from doesn't take away from your performance, by all means, do it. That's how I kind of feel about it. So I guess to answer the question, how long does it take for me to commit a piece to memory? It doesn't.
So can I just add here?
Yeah.
That one thing I've heard, and maybe you said it, or maybe you were quoting somebody, there's a generational divide here. Older poets insist on the memorizing, and younger ones are more likely to embrace the technology and reading off of something. I can't memorize. I'm an older poet, but I can't memorize to save my life. So I'm always reading off my phone. I've got to get the technology so I can do the teleprompter.
Or something similar. To me, I think the answer is if you are representing your performance art in a fashion that you're comfortable with and you're proud of, then continue to do it that way. If that means memorizing it, then memorize it, Right. If the teleprompter works, great. If reading it out of a book is your shtick and that is part of your thing, then by all means do it that way. But do whatever is authentic to who you are and what you're trying to portray. That, I think, is the most important thing today.
So may I ask you something? Because I've heard you say it so often. You bring up authenticity.
Yeah.
And voice is tremendously important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in the era of oncoming artificial intelligence, AI.
Yes.
What's the relationship between voice and artificial intelligence?
So I read a book. It was called The Creativity Code. It's written by a mathematician. And in the book, he's talking about the effects of AI and where AI is going to go. So the example he uses is form poetry. AI is a great word predictor. It is great at learning and it's great at patterns.
Right.
So what is form poetry? What is a sonnet? It's this many syllables and this many lines. What is our language? Our language is contractions, adjectives, nouns, verbs. words put next to each other to elicit thoughts and responses. There is a pattern to that. There is a finite pattern to that. He thought within a short period of time, and I think he said 2030, that AI would be able to write every conceivable example of form poetry possible. And granted, most of those probably won't make sense because it's looking at it as noun to verb or verb to, conjunction. But they could do it all. What's left? And what's left is the human factor. What's left is my experience, the way I see what I write.
Right.
And until I experience it, it doesn't exist. I'll give you an example. We were just out in LA. First morning out there, I walk out to the beach. There's the heads of 9 roses laying in the sand, right? I write a poem about these 9 roses. I come back. I do very little editing, drop a video, perform the piece that night.
Right.
The next morning, the beachcomber comes by in the morning, drags the beach, and the heads of the roses are gone. That poem is a snapshot in time, in my life, interpreted in my way, with infinite number of factors. That beach is, I don't even know how many miles long, but it's fucking long, right? And the fact that I walked up on those particular 9 roses, those factors, and you put all of those factors together, and then I write a piece, and then I perform it in my voice. That's the future. That is as authentic as it gets, and I don't know that AI will ever be able to represent that quality.
Right.
Could it write could you say, hey, if you found 9, yeah, it could solve a problem and do something like that, but it can never be authentic like a human being can be or carry that level of creativity.
Right. I mean, to put a finer point on it, you have said to me, what preserves us, what makes us continue to be valuable is our voice.
The heads of 9 roses left behind to rot and decay, discarded and entrusted to their forever resting place. Maybe I am not as okay as I say I am. I talk to myself during a walk on Sunset Beach, majesty with the morning sun at my back, reflected off some of the most expensive real estate in the world. But I hardly remember it's there as I plant my feet into the sand and stare through the haze at an ever-changing line in the sky where air meets ocean, like it is the last time I will see something that powerful again, and believe it to be true. My heart tells me to throw my phone to Poseidon and dig myself a hole and dig and dig and dig until I disappear into the planet to which I was begotten. Fingers worn and humanity leaked, the heads of 9 pink and white roses dead in my pocket. I would surely leave petty regret and turmoil at the surface to drown in the melded slurry of salted surf and sand that filled the hole I left behind. And in that truth, with variegated petals in tow, maybe I would not have to lie anymore. Maybe I would be okay.
May I ask a question, which is explain the relationship as a professional poet between your books and making a living and your travels as a poet?
So it's changed over time, but I can tell you when, like, my second and third books, I would drive out to a open mic with 2 or 3 books in my car and perform some poems from that book and have the need to sell those books at that event in order to have gas money to go home. That's kind of what I alluded to before, is living that beat poet life. That's what it was. I live off it. If I got a flat tire, I needed to busker reading poems for money or stop and sell a book or something like that in order to pay to get home. You know, that is the life. And that is morphed into, as I've gotten more popular and was able to gain more support from people and things like that, sell books overseas. I sell a lot of books in Scotland and England. Finn Hall is our U.S. International Beat Poet Laureate. He lives in Scotland. I've been published in his anthology. At last time I checked, I sell more books in the United Kingdom than I sell in the United States.
I mean, you've said to audiences, hey, I got to sell X number of books to be able to get home.
Yeah, done that right on stage. I have literally jumped in the car with a half a tank of gas and 4 books, driven to a town, pulled in on fumes, performed, and as part of my set saying, I have 4 books here and I'm out of gas and I need to get back to so-and-so. So, yes.
I do not have that kind of cojones. May I ask you another question?
Yeah.
What the fuck's a Dharma bum?
So, yeah. So, twofold. We know Jack Kerouac wrote a book called Dharma Bums, okay? But what Paul is referring to, D.G. Clearing, is a mentor of mine. So my bag, which I'm looking at across the room, has a silver medallion on it, which is about the size of a belt buckle. In the center of it, it has a Buddha that is kind of cut and folded out. And the medal is called a Dharma Bum. It is something that traveling poets give to other traveling poets when they do what I do. Traveling town to town, essentially making my dollars to get to the next town, I'm kind of a Dharma bum. Spiritually, I don't believe in God. I believe in energy. I believe in the way things are and everything is connected by a force and all of that, and it all kind of plays into that. But that Dharma bum that is strapped to my bag has been with me since 2021 or 2022, and it has been through the ringer.
Right.
Just gonna say. And most recently, it's been out to LA.
So, talking about going back and forth, Green Bay to Rockford, plus all just the touring you do you have a favorite place that you perform?
Ooh.
As far as venue goes,
Venue, city, just your favorite place.
the venue with the best sound, the best listening room in the Midwest that I've been to is Slowpoke in Spring Green. No question. No question. Best sound, best stage, best listening room.
And I have to say the factors that weigh in on that, quality of audience.
Quality audience, but sound and just the general vibe and all that. I mean, let's face it, we want to talk about nostalgia. Lindeman's in Milwaukee is the church
Right.
for poetry in Milwaukee. But I would say if you're going to walk into a room and you want to sound the absolute best you can, I mean, the mics are high quality, the sound system is high quality, they have a sound engineer on site. It is a true listening room, blocked off from the rest of the cabaret. Slowpoke in Spring Green is, it's not even close.
See, and I'm not the audiophile you are. I could give a hoot. Like, you killed me the first time you walked into the indoor location at the Birdie Museum and you said, the acoustics in here are terrible. I could give a shit. It's a great room visually, and the audience there. I mean, I love our audiences in Rockford. They're phenomenally supportive. Now, I would also say other audiences, other places are good for other reasons. In Peoria, Whisper and Shout, I love the engagement level of that audience. That audience will react appropriately, incredibly fast, because they're all engaged. And I love that, and it's not just poets in that audience. That's date night, and there are just poetry aficionados in that audience, and it's big. It's 150 plus in the audience, and I love that. So I love the audience in Woodstock that Atrocious Poets hosts. That is a very, very engaged and intelligent audience.
Yeah.
Small, but they really know poetry, and it's a beautiful audience for that reason.
So the thing about Spring Green, there's a Shakespearean theater there.
Right.
The audience are all writers. It's not just the fact that the sound is great and the stage is great. The Midwest in general, the audiences are great everywhere. Honestly, for all of the open mics. Tom Cannon is another one. When he comes on the show, he talks about the value of the open mics. The question being, what was my favorite? It's Slowpoke, hands down. place.
Mine is wax poetic for the combination of intelligence and engagement, and of course the mood set by the MCs, which is playful, and I lean towards feminism, so I appreciate it for that. I will also say, do you remember Orange? I don't remember the name of it. Tiny listening room that was like a living room in
Yeah,
Orange,
that was good. Yeah.
California, outside Los Angeles.
Dirty Nellies.
There were only 13 people in the audience, but 7 of them had books out. I mean, you want to talk about a literary audience?
Cornland, cold. On the side, past the shoulder, off the side of a byway. October fields don't smell like the farmland in methane May or sweet July, or the same as any other time. A pre-winter dead smell, air and saliva combined, fermenting mouthy dust, wine, a vintage taste of nothing. A drive-by paradigm of stalk-riddled post-harvest dirt that looks as lonely and burned out as I feel. Ghosted, ghostly, ghost me. No one to talk to in any kind of way when I'm talking all the time and people take what I say in their own certain kind of way. Like they care for any reason other than to have something new to bitch about. I speak what I create to get the poison out. Catharsis. Drive-by paradigm, quarters, nickels, and a dime by my leg. Cup holder side, but other than that, I am by myself. Solo ride. Alone in parks, sleeping alone, eating alone, composing history alone, dictating deviation back and forth between poetry and self-absorbed prose, versed, free, smuggling myself date to date toward the next couch, sleep, road riding rubber freedom lines, felony lines, selfish lines, golden lines dashed down the middle of the road lines, lines between sacrilege and privilege, cross line talismans. You can pray, but I don't. Drive-by paradigm, starburst bright in the night, force feed my eyes, shaded glass, a hoodie and a hat, disguised like a life-size molded mannequin. Incognito slinking through dimly lit sin, surfing energy, riding lightning waves, watts of frequency. Optic migraine, seeing the headlights on the CRV go out on purpose. I feel at home seeing monochromatic gray against chalkboard slate rays of mist and minimalist shine from a crescent moon trying to help me steer through the dark around a pole, mailboxes and shit, radio, breakbeat bopped, high speed through dark, at risk, scared to miss shit, scared to hit shit, afraid to stop. Drive-by paradigm, check down to rundown station, places adjacent dimensions I know well, places to piss, have a drink, take a chair, sit and think, scared of being inside my head. October's breeze blows the leaves. Maple, ash, oak in pouches ripe with seed come to rest on a sap-stained table. Pods split, seeds inside set side by side. The rotten print on its internal skin resembles eyes. Nature's drive-by paradigm staring right through me like it knows.
Are you planning any more touring?
So we just got back from LA, 2 days off. I came down here. We did some more principal recording for this show and a few other things. I am going to be back out in the Midwest over the winter months. And then, it's like a constant thing. So my next book drops in March of 2026. The month of April is National Poetry Month every year. Last year, I think I was out 28 days in April.
Right. You gave one of those days to Rockford. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and honestly, if I could tour and perform 5 days a week year-round, It'd be great. And the other 2 days would be, travel days. I would be happy as a clam doing that until my body gave out and said, enough. This is what I love to do. So are there plans to tour? Yes. There are plans to go everywhere that will have me.
Do you have any specific slams or competitions that you have in mind?
I'm not going to do slams anymore. I think that that's kind of when we were talking about the progressive nature of spoken word poetry and stuff. For one thing, I don't believe the art should be a competition. When we go to open mics, we're not competing with each other as artists. The way that I say that is there's no one that can do James Hamilton the way I can. So there is no competition. There's no one that does Savvy Magoo better than Savvy Magoo. There's no competition. I've done slams. I've won, I think, seven times in 13 months. Rockford Certified Slam in town here. I'm not going to do competitions anymore. And the reason being is, as I'm mentoring other people, I really believe in the fact that I can translate to them better that their art is more valued and more authentic to them, and that there is no competition in the arts. And so I think it's an outdated thing. Listen, if people are out there and they're slamming and they love it, by all means, go ahead and do it. It's just not for me anymore.
You mentioned mentoring. Exactly how do you mentor people? Do you provide workshops, consultations, just one-on-one?
I've done workshops. A lot of them fall in National Poetry Month. We market them. I'll go in, and it's usually a group of like local writers or somebody that show up for something like that. Consultations and communication, it happens all the time. When I talk to poets, so we'll just say Shane Train, a poet. We've mentioned him a couple times. I talk to Shane on the phone or personally probably 2.5 hours a week, working on creative process and doing things. It may happen over Messenger. It could happen over the phone, all different ways. So, yeah, I do consultations. I do all of that stuff. And I feel like that's like me giving back. Art has given me so much. It's given me freedom from the needle, from drugs. It has given me the life that I have. I mean, listen, the Honda I drive has got 347,000 miles and bald tires on it right now. But you know what? I love her. I call her Shitty Honda, but I love her. She gets me where I gotta go, and wherever I go next, I love that. I love the fact that when people ask me what's my favorite piece, I can say my next one. What's your favorite town? It's the next one. And I want people to understand that and feel what I get from the art. So I give of myself to anybody that'll ask. A stone-cold, demonstrative example of decrepit, defensive, and reticent. I am glazed melancholy in a sleeve of isolation, amazed at the power engaged in the frequencies afforded by a simple, subdued chunk of brass in the correct hands blowing correct breath. Grounded to wax, 1986, Miles Davis, 2-2. Prince-less sitting, but sometimes lunch meat laying, sore and scarring, remnant truths of blue funk spun, atropic to become, unglued like the ironic corners on the fitted sheets, sheathing this worn-out mattress in this worn-out room. I know the desolation synonymous with limp dick balloons that ruin every reflection of endless deflated days. Substantive, almost elementally omnipotent, depression lays camouflaged, permeated within dated shag, semi-gloss paint, and over-ripened skin. Depression, obsession manifests in mindless time, spent thumbing through sonic tone babble, rhetorical discord rendered into 30-second reels. Wasted seconds, wasted minutes, wasted years. Time is the catalyst to create the spit I swirl in my mouth over and again in an attempt to clean the overabundance of emotional filth littering present future's tarnished view. Stagnant hues of angry faces in the shadows who all look like someone who looks like someone else but isn't. Monotonous sedative waves grind in and out of vector. Imaginary painted rainbow-colored piano key accented crosswalks lead to destination nowhere. By a river and down a hill, crimes of passion, crimes of faith, crimes of truth and lies waste away. Delineations dissolve into apparitions of past acquaintances. Shadow people talking tongued riddles speak from trash-laden corners through the night, explaining afterworld posture in next-world dialect. Unintelligible, fractal, disruptive parts of a page, playbill acts played from folded scripts, creased in a way to augment where the hinge was supposed to go. Bent is just bent, though. Peace is a deer cooling itself in a crystal water creek. Eastern sky, sunrise sleek, no forecasted rain, first time in a week. The smell of forest moss and silver nitrate in a gravel bottom puddle low and high. Crime in the shadows, crime in the wood, crime that never happens and crime that should. Criminal to knife through the air without trepidation or worry to breathe. What a shame, as carbon monoxide particulate poisons bodies and pollutes minds, but not mine. I fear I'm already too gone to save, but hey, at least there's jazz.
I know you've talked about, your published books and poetry compilations. So how many poetry books do you have and where can people buy them?
I'm going to run in order, and they start in 2020. There's one every year. So the first 2020, I had a traditional publishing deal. It was American Junkie, Life, Love, and Loss. You can get that on Amazon.com or through my fan site at co-fi.com, James Hamilton Poet. Then I did My Manic Mind in 2021. You can get that in the same places. My Nature Darkly in 2022. Why in 2023. Impressions of a Bougie Homeless Guy in 2024. Dope Words in 2025. Yeah. I also wrote a memoir, which I guess would be in the vein of crime fiction, called Skata, which is available also at Amazon.com. So 6 poetry books, 1 other book, and my 7th poetry book, which I can tell you will be out, I think, March 23rd of 26. But I'd have to double check on that. But
is that an anthology?
Yeah, actually, I totally forgot about that. I have a Resistance anthology that's out right now. You can buy that on Amazon.com. The initial copies and contributor copies are probably on their way to my house, which I'm in Rockford, Illinois, recording this. I do live in central Wisconsin. I like to say I'm a citizen of the earth because I kind of move around.
Yeah, you do. You travel the earth.
So currently, are you hosting any open mics?
I think I mentioned before, I host monthly for the last 2 years. Urban Culture, Art, and Event Center up in Green Bay is my home open mic. I've had poets from all over the Midwest come up there, which it's a pilgrimage, When you think of the Midwest, here we are in Rockford. Rockford is the hub of Midwest poetry, which is, what we're setting this up as here. Green Bay is like the end of the spoke because it's a ways up there. So I host that one once a month on a Thursday. Also, UW, University of Wisconsin, Frisia McKee is the poetry professor up there. She started a mic. I guest host for that when she's out of town, and I've been instrumental in helping build that mic up there and help keep that one going. I host other events. I've been hired, up in Rhinelander to host, but they're not technically open mics. Those are more feature type performance or music festival type of events. Showcases for some poets, or like the thing that I'm working on now is a resistance type of thing for a museum that I'm going to host an event and a gala that they have there. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, I do stuff like that. Yep.
So, if I might add in here a couple of things. One, Rockford, I'm finding out that the MCs for open mics evolve rapidly. Like, it's not a stable thing. New people come in, and I currently MC one that I just ended up doing because somebody else ditched it kind of abruptly, and I ended up taking up. Now it turns out I love it, and I might be okay at it, so I'm going to continue. But the other thing I have to say is I'm trying locally in Rockford to distinguish between hosts and MCs, because an MC, being the person who runs a particular open mic, it's of value to know the difference between that and the person who is bringing people into a particular venue to participate. And that may not be the person who runs it. So it's a fluid thing, but I am at least locally trying to distinguish those two thoughts.
What I'll add to that is I will say that the skill set is not necessarily transferable between a performer and a host/MC. Those skills can be transferable, but they're not necessarily. I know people who are great hosts would not consider themselves really high-level spoken word or performance art poets. So the skills may be transferable, but are not always transferable.
Mm-hmm. And I'm learning all of this afresh.
I thought you did a good job at Burpee. I only went to one of them, but you done good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying that. But what I'm enjoying most of all about having my own open mic is the ability to choose who the feature is. And Burpee Versecraft, what we're doing is focusing on Rockford or area poets being the features. That's what that's dedicated to. Open mic date. Loving this date. Welcome smiles and hug, exchanging books, unplanned, laughing, even giggles. Such chemistry. The women who just sat down next to me are on. Meanwhile, the poet at the mic doesn't take down her hood, ever, while reciting vivid moments of trauma. Next poet talks of father's beatings. And another essay. Penetration within relationship, not forced, but not welcome, and repeated. This is tough stuff. Men are not doing well here, and also a handful of women villains. The shift is then to poems of healing and growth, introspection and work. I smirk and say to myself, button poetry. Except that's what so often poetry is for. For so many, it's journaling, reflection, and working things out, to be celebrated when courageous folks share. I love when folks fresh from treatment, or still in it, as I was when I started, join and share, as they know how, having the language and motive to explain. Back at the date next to me, they're quiet, listening hard, leaning into each other, while the poems talk of strife between partners, and growth is done alone. These two have the optimism of holding hands. Embracing Saguaro. It all starts with family, given, chosen, and peers in our age-banded schools, workplaces, church, pursuing what's worthy, intensive treatment, the rooms, and most importantly, being there for the young, Sunday morning and otherwise for spirit, as a parent, and most taxingly, with constant dividends, as a teacher, welcoming, nurturing everyone sent to share space in life. There will be thorns, corners, rough spots, and spines, to go with the green and the flowers. Don't simply tolerate people, celebrate them, support them, perhaps influence them at their choosing. The balance, holding tight and holding loose, staying oneself intact and healthy, while holding a rose, loving the self with trauma, common to all, who might bite, sting, or turn ugly. To thrive is to hug the cactus.
So, what gives you satisfaction with your art the most?
So, two times in the process that I can tell you that I feel the most satisfied. When I finish a piece and I know it's done. And like I've said before, when it's done, I know it's done. And I don't go back to it. I don't revise it. I get almost an electric feeling from the universe. I get your hair stands up and I go, it's done. That feeling of satisfaction, I just created something that did not exist before I created it.
Correct.
That would be one. The other thing is the applause after a great performance.
Right.
You know, when you're the feature and you get up there on stage and you run your 20-minute set or you run whatever your set is, and people respond, the crowd noise, the crowd respond is an energy. Sure, people are going to come up to you after a show and they're going to tell you what they like or whatever, they buy this or that, but that energy from the crowd
Right.
is palpable. For me, that does it all. That's acceptance of the art in their way. Maybe not how I intended it, you know,
Right.
but it is acceptance. It touched them in their way. And that is all that matters, because once I release it, I can't control how they feel about it.
Right. And I know we talked a lot today about poetry. You write for yourself, and maybe you even perform for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But poetry is, in essence, communicative. So audience response is an essential part of that. That you have provoked a response. That's the artistic endeavor, provoking a response from your audience. Now, sometimes you're recording things, sometimes you're working things out, but that response is essential to the creative act.
So, just to kind of circle back to your writing process, do you have any kind of setting that you prefer writing?
You know, it's funny. I write in a car a lot because I'm on the road a lot. There are a lot of poets I know that prefer to write, you know, with it quiet or whatever. I'll write with music on, the television on, people talking, speakers, cars going by, airplanes flying over. I don't care. The more chaos, the better. The last time that I had an office set up that I wrote in, I had a kaleidoscopic bulb in the ceiling that spun colors throughout the room. I would play the television and music at the same time with the window open in the dark with that light spinning. And that was my preferred creative environment. I would say it's still my favorite. Well, now, I like writing in the car the most. And some of that is just the multitasking of it. Some of it is just, maybe some of it is the danger. Maybe some of that is a holdover from my life as a drug addict, and that adrenaline rush that comes from danger. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that stimulates that flight or fight. I don't know, you know, but I would say the more chaos that's going on around me at that time, I'm cool with that. That said, that's poetry. When I sat down and did a memoir, when I wrote Skata, the process was I would record interviews with Steve, the subject. But then when I was writing, I went to the study room and I locked myself in a soundproof room for sometimes 12 hours at a time. And I needed it to be very quiet. So the two different art forms, two totally different processes for me. Poetry can be crazy and free. Regular narrative type stuff, I need to be able to focus without distraction.
So I hear that and I agree with all that. For myself, it depends on the quality of the inspiration, the power of the inspiration. I have written poems in the middle of complete chaos. In a car while people are arguing and there's music going on, and I'm just in the back seat and I gotta get this down. but also I've required that complete quiet. So there are better and worse places with what works well as a writing location. Drive. The word poet does not conjure visions of such violent fucking driving. He writes, though, like he drives. No empty space, no pause for thought, full tilt, full speed ahead, accelerate until you need brakes, then stomp to stop. Swerve as if your life depends on it. No word is too big or too loud. Pile them on like pushing the pedal to the floor. Can you ever catch your breath? But he always brings it home with a safe crash.
So, working with other writers, do you think it's important to work with writers who you perceive are better than you or more experienced?
Definitely, 110%. Have to always be teachable. So I am part of a couple of different writers groups, two different ones in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, a group that's part of the UW system in Oshkosh, and then another group that's part of the UW system in Stevens Point. So I work with those groups. I don't know if better is a good word, right. More accomplished for sure. I think it's just important to be open and teachable. Better, maybe not the best term, more accomplished or at least more educated. I don't like the whole competition thing in art, period. It's so subjective in receiving it. But I like to immerse myself around writers who have been places that I haven't been. Right. Most definitely.
And I think for me, it's different. Not better or worse. And that mentor-mentee relationship gets flipped and conflated a lot in my world, but different. So Shane Train is a good example because he's always engaging with other poets. He had been bringing things to me for feedback and coaching, but I got to tell you, he is evolving fast enough and he's working so much that I get as much out of those sessions as I believe he does, and I have no problem with that. But
that's kind of what I'm saying is if we remain teachable, it's a matter of just being open. And I think that right there is the spirit of it's not a competition. No one's going to say either is a better poet or a better writer, quote unquote. They're just different. Right. No one can do Shane Train the way Shane Train can. No one does Savvy Magoo the way he does Savvy Magoo. But they can learn from each other, and it's a matter of remaining open to learning.
All right, so just to wrap up your audience questions, and probably the most important one on the list, have you always had the white mohawk?
No shit. Yeah, so that happened by total accident. I'm not going to lie to you. So I lived there. There's a girl. There's always a girl, right? In every story from every guy.
In every town.
All the way back to Casablanca and Rick, there is always a girl in every story. So she said, why don't you try dyeing your hair? So I bleached it. I was blonde. I always had an issue in the summer being hot, so I shaved the sides, And that happened about the same time that I met DG, and we went down to Linneman's and performed. So all of a sudden now I go from being this guy who's very happy with staying in his house and writing and marketing books and hoping people are going to buy them and being this writer guy to now being the guy with the white mohawk who performs poetry. I went that way for about 2.5 years. This past summer, because of another girl in a creative meltdown, I decided I shaved it off for the first time, in all of my performance time. And the general response that I got back from people on the road was, what the fuck? So, it's back now. It hasn't always been there. It is, it's been there for 95% of my poetry career. And, listen, it'll be there. Whoever asked that question, it'll be there until it's not. Let's just say that. Because like I write, I'm just going to go with the flow and I'm going to let it fly the way that it flies. And if one day I decide, maybe one day I show up, it'll be black. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Cause a riot, man.
Do, re, mi, fa. So tired of same old, same shit, tired, same day ways. Sounds and scales, telegraphed, directional graphic parallax, repeat mimeograph, duplicate, consonant, replicant, stigma strange, incarceration nation. Let me see your hands, junkie. Incapacitation, implied capitulation, nonviolent drug offender, handcuffed, roughed up, locked up, rather than talking about education, life preservation, rescue, mental illness, options for spectrum diverting legalization. Imputed ignition, smolder fire bright, heat bringing heat right. No shadows cast through lightning light. 82 degrees in the shade, sun-baked gardens where habit grows into affliction. Compression affords tension, and the ground stays hot into the pre-night sky, painting the same crimson-tinted lies time and again. Temporal malfeasance weaved into a mask of burdensome, infrared-blinded, frequent, sweaty need. Conditioned waves, dry mist saves its worst for eyes like mine that never cry. A spoon full of sugar helps the sick with the medicine when the only answer is more. Fortunate son, I have been the beneficiary of a crystalline chemistry reset. Bisect, brought back to life, therapy talking conditions through conditioned air vent conversations with low rents who were not even there. Transformation nearly. Still, hope wanes constantly when constant arrested change stays same old shit, same day ways. Regurgitation to indignation, humiliation to resuscitation, not special, coding poetic bars in shorthand scaled, deviation accent mark, singing do, re, mi, fa, so what? I appreciate all of the questions and everything. Am I correct in assuming that's all that we have now for questions from my DMs or from wherever they scoured these questions from?
Yeah, we made it through the list.
Social media, all of that. So we got through the list.
Apps.
Listen, I appreciate everybody out there that has been supporting me. I don't know where my social media will be at when these episodes airs, but I can tell you this morning. I opened it up. I had over 80,000 hits on my social media page this morning. So thank everybody worldwide who's been doing that and coming out and supporting what I do, and especially the people who sent these questions in through Facebook and Instagram and what's the other one? Threads, and apparently some Tinder. I didn't hear one that I thought. Maybe the Mohawk one came out of Tinder. I don't know. But I will say this. Every episode at Versed, we give the guest the last word. What I normally say to the guests is, when you knew you were going to be on the radio, there was always one thing or something that you wanted to say, if you ever got on the radio, and we usually give them that time uninterrupted to just be able to say their last word. And so I'm going to give myself my last word, and I'm going to use my last word to tell my mother in heaven, who's been gone for almost 3 years, that I know you're watching. I saw the crows when I was in LA. I see the numbers on the clock. I see you everywhere. And I know you're with me, and I know you're listening to me right now, and I know you're directing me and showing me the way, and I'm following it, and I know you're proud of me.
Beautiful.
With that, From the basement of the Mendelssohn Center for the Performing Arts in Rockford, Illinois, for Savvy Magoo Cultural Reference, Rachel, the engineer, and the entire production team here at Verst and WBOM Full Service Radio. I have to mention Eric, who's been letting us in the building the entire season so that we can get in here and do this. Bob and Jim for opening up the door. The choir lady, Potbelly Sandwiches, all the delivery people, the mail people. I mean, who else? If I'm forgetting you, I apologize, especially all of the guests. Until next season, I am James Hamilton, signing off. Peace.